Hi, I'm Greg, the creator of Superhero Coding. Welcome to Almost Crossy Road Part 4. This time we're going to work on collisions and score and UI. And this is going to be the last session, the last live session for Crossy Road. And we're just going to pick up where we left off last time and jump right in. As always, you can get the code and everything at superherocoding.com. Switch over to Unity. Put my face down in the corner where it goes. All right. This is where we left off. I'm just going to hit play, and I can use WASD or arrow keys to move along. Oh, I just got hit by the train. Some of the, some of the spacing is off here. Like, this should probably just be one jump between here and there and there. It's okay. I don't mind. These are lined up. Those are lined up. You hit things or you don't. We get here, and then you don't have all the fancy graphics I made in Blender last time, and that's okay. So we're just going to do some basic collision detection, so we know when a player hits a car, and a score, and so sort of a collision. Score is how far away. In the original Tappy Road, it's how many taps, how far away you are from your starting point. We can do that, and some collision detection that pops up a game over message when something hits you or something like that. All right, so we are going to take scene 3 and Control D on the PC, presumably Command D on the Mac to recreate that. Double click that to go into. Just duplicated scene 3, moving into scene 4. Double check up here, make sure we are on scene 4. And we are. So, collisions. There's a lot of different ways to do it. You're either working with a collider, so everything has to have a collider on it. And if I just come over to this car, I pick it and I hit F to focus when my mouse is over the scene window. There's a collider. It's not the worst. There's all the different cubes that make it up. They don't have colliders, nor should they. As long as I've got one good one, probably in good shape. Looks like it needs to be a little bit wider, though. This one, so just do that. And that's good. And I might regret this, but I'm going to apply all anyway. Hey, look at that. All right. And so now, since I applied all to that prefab, everywhere that there is an orange car, that box collider is now the proper size. So moving taxi, focus on that. That one's just fine. Have to focus on that. That one's fine. And so orange car, which is actually purple. Okay, we've got the same collider. So here we've got, we just change the color basically. But all the colliders are good for all those. These things also, the individual ones have colliders as they should. So we're in good shape. All right. So I'm going to make a new script to put on the player, and that's going to, really we could do the score, just kind of have a player script. We do the score and the trigger collision checking all in one place. That'll be easier. And actually, hey, we've got player movement. We'll just add it to player movement. We'll double click that, load up my ancient version of Visual Studio. And yours will be newer or VS Code or whatever. It's fine. I saw somebody using Sublime Text once, and it's a phenomenal text editor. I don't recommend it for Unity because you miss out on all the syntax coloring and the Unity stuff and IntelliSense and all that. Anyway, JetBrains Rider is fantastic, but I digress. Okay, player movement. So, score. So what they do, they are tracking basically all the forward taps, how far away you are. So we want to register our initial position, and then as the player moves forward each time, even in the half spaces, you know, this takes up 2 spaces. I don't care. I'm thinking that we register starting position, and then we get the I guess it's the RGB, so it would be the Z distance. RGB is XYZ, red, green, blue, so that is the Z distance because it's blue, which is why I said RGB. So we want to measure the current Z distance versus the starting Z distance and take the max of that. So let's do, so we want a public, because I don't care, and it's easier to see it in the inspector. Public float, yes, you know, player advance, move distance. Yeah, move distance is fine. 0. Let's start back in there. Move distance equals 0 because we want to set that. 0f, it's floating point. And when we move, the other thing we want, so we want actually like a starting Z pause. Let's do that. And then that is where this gets aligned. Now this script is on the player, so we're going to do game object with a little g, which tells us to use the game object that this script is attached to. Transform dot local position or global position. This is not a child of anything, doesn't matter. Local position dot Z. And then just to make sure we got it right, starting Z pause is starting Z pause. Cool. That. And yep, good. Then we will need to maybe we don't need this. We're gonna calculate that. I guess instead let's do max distance. Yeah, let's do that instead. So that's really move distance. We'll calculate here if has moved, and if max distance is no, we need to calculate current position minus starting position. So let's see, let's call it, it's float. It's called total Z offset equals game object transform position Z minus starting Z pause. And sorry for all the ums and ahs, I'm still working up. And let's see, yeah, we want that minus that, and then if, and it's good to debug log because you know, there's what you think the computer is doing, and then there's what it's actually doing. Those can be different. If you debug log and print it out in the console, you're gonna know. You're going to know exactly what it's doing, which is better than thinking you know what it's doing. And then if max distance is less than the total Z offset, distance equals the total z offset. And then debug log. Updated max distance to max distance. And we're actually with a score. You don't want a score of 18.0. We can convert it into an integer before we drop it on the score. We'll do that in a minute. So make sure all my code works first. So I think we're good to go there. Still working like it should. Yep. Cool. Yep. All right. Loading, reloading, domain, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to be watching the console to see what it's doing. So max distance is 1. All right. Here, offset is 0. We know. Offset is 1. We know. Max distance is 2. Now, I put the 2 equals in there. That's not just to help it stand out. What I can do is I can do equal space. And now that filters all 35 of these messages to just the ones that say that. So every time I advance a new spot like I'm about to do here, it's going to pop up there. But moving down, moving backwards, moving sideways, all that stuff doesn't matter. But that's basically, you tap to advance or swipe in the game. And yeah, that's what you got. So, and I did do my job right. I think I've done this before. All right, so here it gets real easy. Now I'm home free. So, and you could have a little, you could even take a piece from Frogger if you wanted to, and now I have to move over and hop into a certain thing, and that puts me back at the start, and then I have to keep going. That would actually be interesting, or have something here that then teleports you to a new level. I mean, I know Crossy Road doesn't do that, and if I wanted to keep all this stuff going, I could take the same code that moves these that we built in the first lesson, that moves it around and then moves it from here to here. And what I would do is if we're far enough from the player, we move it from back here to up here. And we put some offsets and stuff in there and have it random. This is probably going to be a project I work on for a while that will be available to people who've paid for it. Because there's a lot of stuff that could be done with this. I think this could really be a fantastic game lesson when it's all done. For now, we're going to take the easy road and let's see. So we've got grass and trees. Why don't I just make a thing called level stuff? Set that to 0, 0, 0. Level contents. All right. So road doesn't need to move. All these obstacles, the grass, the taxi, the grass, the train tracks, all that stuff goes into level contents. Then we see if we did it right. Did. And what we could do, and actually if I don't want these, I could pull those out of that. Do the same with these. So those will just be kind of one-offs. And everything else here. Oh, I'm missing a big yellow taxi. Also part of that? Yeah, okay. Just grab those and move them over here. Right. Fantastic. What I can do now is I can duplicate that with Control D. Probably my most used hotkey in the whole of Unity, and move it here. And now we've got a whole new scenario. And if I want to change it up, I could move the train and the train tracks. I could actually put those together. That's part of this. So now, if I want to move that over here, I can do that. Just change it up a little bit, and I can move the. I can set these to. Oh, that moved everything. That's fine. I can set this whole thing to be plus 50. So now it's going the other way. And I can say, you know what, in the second one, I don't want a road there. This needs to be moved out a little bit more. Take these taxis and move them down. You know, or make them go the other way. I can take these two individual things and move them over. Turn the taxis around. 180. I want to set the speed to be negative. So now we've got a little bit more to kind of work with. I really like in Crossy Road that the light blinks for about a half a second before the train comes zipping through. So you've got a variety of things. This is actually not, well, now just the half step distance is, further we get, I guess the worse that's going to get. That's fine. I'll clean that up later. But yeah, the key here is that distance is working. We've now got, you know, an area to kind of get through and work through, so that's good. So we've got a score. If we wanted to display it on the UI, we could. You know, we'll get to that at some point. I don't know if that'll be today. The next thing on the list is the colliders for the player. So we're going to go back into that player script and tweak that. So what we're going to do down here, do void on trigger enter collider other. So at the simplest level, debug log, we just hit, you know, other dot collider game object dot name will give us the name of what we just hit, and we probably want to check grab the tag. The tag was other dot. Now you can compare the tag, but I don't know if you can just grab the tag. Yeah, beautiful. All right. So what that's going to do, that's going to enable us, you can check collisions and triggers against a game object's name. That's a terrible practice most of the time. It's much better to check against tags. When you're using strings, if you change something, you're hosed later on. So much better to use the tags. So let's take the train here, and then I'm going to do the whole thing. And we could just do something like, you know, enemy or vehicle. If we want to get specific, we could say the train, and so that something specific happens every time you get hit by the train. For now, I think we're just gonna add a tag that says, you know, enemy car or whatever, enemy vehicle. It doesn't matter. No, add vehicle. If we were going to add coins for a scoring system, like the original Crossy Road, we would add another tag called coin, or we could even add one called pickup. if we wanted a generic pickup, and then we could check the name. Necessarily be bad. We could add coins and power-ups and all that kind of stuff. So you do it in the tags, then you go to your object, and this is our first train. And I want to set the tag to bad vehicle, and I thought it asked if you did. I guess it's just the layers. So grab all of them and say bad vehicle. That is all of those. And then I'm going to come do it over here as well. Grab all of them. Bad vehicle. And then just so we don't have to get all the way to the train, let's do it on like the second set. So the orange cars that are actually purple. Car. Set that to bad vehicle. And that does not affect the children. So, oh, actually it doesn't matter because the collider's only on these. The other thing we need to do, we need to make sure is trigger is on because we are checking trigger enter, not collider enter. If we were, so colliders collide with something and physics affects them, triggers, it'll pass through the thing, but you can still find it in code and it says, hey, something happened. So I just want to make sure that these are all set. They're not set to be trigger. That and grab that, those, and is trigger. All right, save and play. So it should start telling us over here when we hit things. Right now we can, I guess the trees don't have colliders on them, that's fine. And these don't have colliders on them, or well they do. I guess there's no tag. Purple should be warning us that we're hitting something. Maybe our player doesn't have a collider. Player has a collider, player movement script. On trigger enter. Oh, this has to be a trigger, I guess. I can never remember this off the top of my head. All right. The player needs to be the trigger and these not. Beautiful. Not working. So while I'm in play mode, turn trigger off. Doesn't make a difference. Over here. Oh, those ought to be set to trigger. So that needs to be a trigger, and this does not. Well, player movement, trigger enter. That should be triggering. Why is it not? I know if I grab all those, they're all triggers. They're all not. It should be colliding. What am I missing here? It's always something simple. Through there. Did I not save my script? Enter. That. Except here, let's go to collision, game object name, collision tag. Collision.collider.tag. How to play mode. Alright. Got a tag. These are not a trigger. This is a trigger. Contacts. It's a new box. Oh, the joys of live streaming. Don't understand why these are not. All right. That's not a trigger. That is a trigger. Turn that off. Take this purple car and add the player movement script to it. There's got to be something simple I'm missing. Now the cars are moving side by side. All right. This is where I regret live streaming before I've had all my coffee for the day. As I know it's something simple that I'm missing. All right, so what we do is we go to player and we take purple car and road. That's all we need. New scene, basic built-in. Boom. Clear road, purple car. Purple car does not even need to move. All right. I probably need to go up a little bit. You can even move purple car back. The camera back a little bit as well. All right. Now we don't need to keep these because we know that's all working. Over here. I know there's something simple that I'm missing here. Back on. Max speed. Let's do like 5 and -5. No, that should be fine. Even if we delete those things, there is still a object in a collider there. Oh. Needs a rigid body. Something needs a rigid body. If the player has a rigid body, we don't want to use gravity. That's right. No, I shouldn't have done this before I had my coffee. All right, but the key here is you isolate the problem. You isolate the problem and simplify it. When there's a million things on the screen at once, it's hard to look at everything. So you take the bare minimum amount of stuff, move it out into a new scene, Can even be a throwaway scene. You don't need this anymore. And then you go, oh, yeah, there's no rigid body there. So again, I'm going to blame that on not having enough coffee. So that's cool. All right, I'm going to take that. I'm going to duplicate number 4, and we're going to go into number 5. Double click that. Don't need this. Player needs a rigid body. Don't use gravity. I could turn on is kinematic, which basically means you're just going to move it through code, but it's fine. That is what I was missing. And then player does not have to be a trigger. Everything else should be a trigger. Should be good to go from there. Oh, well, that's not fun, is it? Okay, rigid body is kinematic. And freeze the rotation. Probably overkill. That's fine. Is trigger. I guess if it's not a trigger, then it's going to be getting knocked around by things. Nope. There we go. Just hit this, and it was that. We hit this, and right. So purple car needs to be set up as a trigger. Player is kinematic, is not a trigger. That's the magic formula. So here we're getting hit by a car. We're getting hit by a bad vehicle. We got hit by a whole bunch of bad vehicle at once. So there you go. All right, and then I think up here, our other train also is tagged with bad vehicle. Linger, and that's it. Perfect. All right, so now we know that works. So now we know that our player is good. Player has a collider, is not a trigger, has a rigid body, because the collider without the rigid body does not work. Is kinematic should be on, use gravity should be off, and then freezing these is kind of irrelevant, but it's fine. So what we need to do, we need to set the rest of the vehicles to be yep. All right, those are good. That is set up as trigger. So we need to set up the rest of the vehicles to have the bad vehicle tag. And so we're just going to work our way through the list here. The taxi, bad vehicle, purple cars already have it, so we'll grab all of these. Those are set. Taxis, bad vehicle. I could just hit the prefab where that applies, but this is fine. Those guys, bad vehicle. Guys, bad vehicle. We'll again rename those to purple car. Here. All right. All those. Set to bad vehicle. Those should already be set. These. Just apply all. Now they're all set. Oh, it does not set the tag. Interesting. Didn't know that. Learn something new. And last ones are already set to bad vehicle. Perfect. All right. So now, anytime we hit any car at all, any car hits us, we should get bad vehicle. And so again, we can use this to filter. It's showing up. Yellow one hits us. It's not tagged. The backwards yellow taxi. Those are getting tagged. Yep. Nope. Beautiful. All right. Those are B I all needs to be a trigger, and then by doing that I've messed up the move speed. All right, set that to 180, set that to negative. Taxi's moving the right way. Yep, got an absolute collision going up there. Let's fix that. 12 and negative 12. Let me set them both as 12. Set bed vehicle. So, yeah, this is part of it. You are going to play your game. You're going to test your game. You're going to break things, and you're going to fix things. That is all part of the process. Maybe those don't have it. But now I can look and say, oh, this isn't happening. Those don't have what they need. In this case, they don't have is trigger. So you set that, you save it, and you start again. All right, so we've got a score. We've got vehicles. We've got about 10 minutes left. So I think what I want to do here is drink more coffee, and I want to set up a screen when we hit a car, game over, try again, and I guess we could put a score on there. I'll go kind of fast, but it'll be all right. Not too fancy. We don't need that anymore. That's been there. It's been going a while. That's a post-processing thing, which we can do if we want. Or, bloom, and really doesn't need it. Or a vignette to focus the action in one place. I mean, I guess it's fine. The bloom is a little much. That's even more little much. You probably don't need a bloom at all. I mean, really, we don't need any of this stuff. We're just going to leave that off. That's fine. It's a bit much. So, yeah. We're not exactly there, but for the 4 hours we've put in, including an hour in Blender, this is not bad. So let's do I guess we ought to get a canvas in here. We're going to add a UI object. We want a text. We're going to have a score on the top. You have to import the essentials, so we're going to do that. Score in the top left. All right, so new text showing up down here. We're going to click this, and then I'm going to hold down Alt to also set position. Click that to anchor it in the top left, and that's going to say score 0. And now to edit that from code, come to player movement, and I'm going to need to be using TM Pro so that that's the namespace for Text Mesh Pro, and then a public TMP text. Call it text score. Of course, you don't have to name it like that, but that's a throwback way in the day. All right, and so we don't need to update the score constantly. You probably want to do it at the beginning. So text equals score 0. It's fine, and then when the score is updated, or this max distance, you do that plus max distance to string. Boom, done. That's it. Rewind, play. Because all the logic for the score is already there. We just went in. So let's unfilter that. Oh, I didn't I get ahead of myself. Didn't set the script. So that needs a reference to this. Score. Now we're good. All right. So now we're looking for. Now we're going to do the game over reload screen. So we want to go to edit, and we want to go to UI. We want to put a panel in place. It's going to be the game over panel. Usually want the darker screen. I mean, it could be anything you want. Usually do something like that to kind of make the rest of the game kind of darker. And we want to add some text. You are a loser. That's not what we say. Again, hold Alt, set position. You say game over. All caps. We want to yell at the player. Set that just to center and center. Stand to be a little bigger. But when your text does this, you just need to go and adjust. Click this, come over here, F to focus. You just need to adjust this a little bit. Bold, and you can also adjust over here, that's fine. And so that is definitely yelling at the player. And then we want to add a button to let them try again. Button, we're going to, just like we did with the text, we're going to click this, hold down Alt, click that. Now it's centered. No, game over isn't. It's fine. Move that down. Just going to do, it's fine. I don't care. And this will say try again. Fine. Yeah, it's more height. Go. And the other thing we want to do, so we're going to need to tell this what to do when they click the button, and we're going to need to turn this off and on, this whole panel off and on, and we're going to group everything else under that, so that by turning the whole thing off and on, we've got one game object we set active or not. So let's do that. That's going to be, normally I'd have a game manager doing that, but it's in player, which is fine. Hold it game object. Over screen. So at the beginning, we want to set active false. And actually, that should probably be inside of awake. Avoid awake. So awake happens basically after you hit play before you see anything. Start happens sort of when you start to see things. More or less. Game over screen, set active false. Then if we collided with the vehicle, we should be using the trigger enter if let's see, compare tag to the bad vehicle. Game over screen, set active true. And of course we need to stop, we need to remove the player and not let them move anymore. You could do those at Boolean if you want to leave them there. In this case, once we've set that true, we're just going to do game object set active false, which will again activate with the current game object with little g is the game object this component is attached to. So we turn on the game over screen, we turn off the player. Then I'm not going to repeat the mistakes of the past few minutes. I'm going to assign this now So on the game over screen, I just grab that whole thing and put it in here. And the reason I put this in awake is so that even if this is on here, when I hit play, it's not there. I hit car, game over. Boom, done. Try again. So it'll work or not. So by deactivating this object, I might have hosed myself and everything in here because the game over, this button click needs to go somewhere. Let's find out. I think this might actually still work. All right, we're gonna make a public float, public void. If it doesn't work here, we can move it in somewhere else. It's not a big deal. Reload level. And then scene manager.load scene 0. It's going to say, hey, I don't know that. Show potential fixes. And there's just an include that we need to include. And then it's all happy. Alternatively, you can just come up here and add that line, which it just did for us. Because, again, we need to use something from that namespace called scene manager load scene 0. First, let's see if that works. Then we will see if it doesn't work there, we'll move it into a new script on the road or something. It's not important. So we're gonna add that, and then we drag in the object, and then we pick the function, player movement, reload level. I don't know if we can call that function when this object is disabled. I think we can. We're about to find out. And it's going to give me an error because I don't have anything loaded yet, but that's okay. Yeah, beautiful. And look at that. It worked. All right, so it loaded. You might be like, what just happened? Well, let me show you. So we're going to build settings. We had our Almost Crossy Road 01 from way back in our first lesson. So we don't want that anymore. I'm just going to hit delete and click add open scenes. So file, build settings, that's where we are. This is where if you want to publish out to WebGL, you select that. And these are all the scenes that your game would need. If you have a game, you know, a title screen and an over screen, and you can do different screens as different scenes. Different scenes contain different things, or you can have it all in one like this. This you play the game, reload, it's fine. So open scene, this is the only one we need. Here's key, that number 0 right there. That's what we're doing here. Now, like I said earlier about loading scenes by name is a bad idea, or checking collisions by string by the name's a bad idea. It can be. Loading the scene by number can be a bad idea. In this case, we've only got one, and it's number 0 because computers, and it's fine. So now we hit play, we start, we go, we run into something, we try again. Hey, look, we hit play, and so everything just reset. I guess the taxi collider was a little bit wide there. So I should not have. No. Is there an invisible one there? I don't know. It's all right. Maybe the collider's too big. So yeah, we've got our score. Not super challenging yet, but not supposed to be yet. There you go. There's our score, and we could even, for our last little change, and so this is why it can be helpful to have this here. See that and go, you know what, I'd really like the score to kind of show on top. So imagine that you are the viewer and things are in this order. So game over panel is over score right now. Click and drag that to be there. Now score is closer to us than, or the camera, than game over panel. And I want to save that if I want it to reload the thing right. And I move forward. Now we've got our final score. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Don't know if you're happy with that or not. I hope that was helpful. I think that's a pretty cool little Crossy Road Frogger kind of game that we've made in a few hours. Again, the point of all these videos is to teach you that you can make a full game in a few hours. I mean, I'm doing it live, you know. Not enough coffee, silly mistakes and all. It's fine out there. So yeah, we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks for watching. Get the code at superherocoding.com. I am Greg, creator of Superhero Coding. Catch you next time.